Hey everyone, this is Derek Bros with the Conscious Resistance Network, and today we are going to talk about Syria and more evidence leaning towards, well, the American people being lied to, people of the world being lied to, and more bombs dropped, and who knows how many people killed in the name of a potential lie. But before we do that, I want to remind you guys to bookmark theconsciousresistance.com so you can get all of our latest content. Yes, I have finally updated the website. You can see here all of my latest videos and our continuing Divest from Facebook campaign this month. If you haven't yet, join us over on minds.com because as I've been telling you guys, I'm putting out videos and articles that are exclusive to Minds, and they sit there for a few days to a week until I decide to put them on YouTube and put them elsewhere. So you want to make sure you're getting them first so that you can share them out. That is, if you care about informing the people around you. I don't know what you guys come here for, but the reason I do this is to inform people around me, and you are people around me. You're people that hear. So I hope that you guys can help ripple that wave out further by sharing this content, by joining us on Minds, by signing up to support on patreon.com/DerekBros so I continue to do this, or buying a shirt to support, or ordering books and all that good stuff. It helps me continue to do what I do so that I can keep spreading ideas and trying to get people paying attention little by little. All right, so let's get into it. There was a report not only from Caitlin Johnstone, but Caitlin Johnstone was definitely somebody covering it. If you don't know Caitlin Johnstone's work, check out her website, caitlinjohnstone.com. You can also see her Medium account where she publishes, I think, basically the same content. But first, let's get into this story here. Confirmed chemical weapons assessment contradicting official Syrian narrative is authentic. So, what the heck is this all about? So, you guys may remember that back in April 2018, there was talks of a chemical weapons attack taking place in Syria, in Douma, Syria. Some of you who follow my work and have for a while, you know that I covered this April 22nd, 2018. I put out this pretty long video dissecting the Syrian conflict based on my articles here. One for Activist Post called Examining the Evidence for Chemical Attack in Syria from April 23rd, 2018. And then another one from Ben Swan's Truth in Media called Examining Ground Reports from Syria. So those two articles make up my research and lead to this video dissecting the Syrian conflict. And then also this one that I wrote later on in the summer following, when there was a report that said no trace of nerve agent at site of suspected chemical attack. So what were we told though? We were told that there was a chemical attack carried out by the Assad government, the same way that we were told that there was an attack in Aleppo in March 2013, and Ghouta in 2013, and Khan Shaykhun in April 2017, and now Douma in April 2018. So I had looked at the evidence for the time and showed that there was definitely reasons to be skeptical of these claims. And, I think we did a pretty good job dissecting that. So if you haven't seen that, go back and look at that. Because even before what I'm about to go over, we sort of already knew that this claim of chemical weapons attack might not be so true. So what we have, though, is a few days ago, the Working Group on Syria Propaganda and Media published a document which was signed by a man named Ian Henderson, whose name is seen listed in expert leadership positions on the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons documents as far back as 1998 and as recently as 2018. So, the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons is this supposed international kind of independent organization that has been studying the potential for chemical weapons attacks in Syria. And as I said, they were already releasing a preliminary report last year saying that there was a potential that there was no, sign of nerve gas agent there. There may have been chlorine, and the media jumped on that and basically said that means there was a chemical attack. So what happened though is that somebody leaked a document from the OPCW, which shows that one of their scientists or researchers, and Ian Henderson, had put together a report that pretty much just says that that attack was clearly a lie. He was saying that there was no way that it could have happened that the way the media was reporting it, because the canisters, the yellow canisters, you guys may remember they were putting these pictures around. He's saying that the yellow canisters were literally placed on the ground, that there's no way they could have fallen from the sky from an aircraft. And what he says here is, in his own words, quote, "The dimensions, characteristics, and appearance of the cylinders and the surrounding scene of the incidents were inconsistent with what would have been expected in the case of either cylinder being delivered from an aircraft." He's saying the only plausible explanations for observations at the scene is that they had to have been placed there. And as Caitlin writes, to be clear, this means that according to the assessment signed by an OPCW trained expert, the cylinders alleged to have dispensed poison gas which killed dozens of people in Douma did not arrive in the locations that they were alleged to have arrived at via aircraft dropped by the Syrian government, but via manual placement on the ground, where photographs were then taken and circulated around the world as evidence against the Syrian government, which was then used to justify airstrikes by the US, UK, and France. You guys may remember this, like nearly immediately, they were like, oh, we got to bomb them, we got to bomb them. So Trump did what every good president who is told what to do does, and he dropped some bombs over there, some airstrikes on Syria based on this attack. So they rushed to, to judgment, and it's taken more than a year now to get pieces of the puzzle like this out, where somebody is leaking a document that shows that at least one of the OPCW's experts that they rely on had kind of blown a hole in their official story. Now that doesn't mean, like, let's kind of look at this honestly. That doesn't mean that's maybe they have 20 different experts that they interview, and maybe the rest of them all felt like, oh yeah, this is a chemical attack, and so they ignored the one guy and went with the rest of them, right? That's a possibility, could be so. But I think when you put it into conjunction with everything else that, like I said, I've already discussed and explored in these two articles, examining the evidence for chemical attack in Syria and examining ground reports from Syria, which I will put both of these in the link, and I'll also put this video dissecting the Syrian conflict, April 2018. You guys can read for yourself and watch for yourself. But when you put that together with this new document, leaked document, which, by the way, the OPCW did actually authenticate the document. They said the OPCW establishes facts surrounding allegations of the use of toxic chemicals for hostile purposes in the Syrian Arab Republic through the fact-finding mission, which was set up in 2014. And it says that their fact-finding mission complies with established methodologies and practices, yada, yada, yada. They take into account all available, relevant, and reliable information, and they draw expertise from different divisions across the technical secretariat as needed. All information was taken into account, and basically they said they initialed their final report on March 2019, and per their rules and regulations, and in order to ensure privacy, we do not comment on individual staff members. And basically they acknowledge that, yeah, this guy worked for us, but we typically don't release the names of people that we've worked with, and we don't release how exactly we study it and things like that. So as Caitlin writes, the kindest possible interpretation of these revelations is that an expert who has worked with the OPCW for decades gave an engineering assessment which directly contradicted the official findings of the OPCW on Douma, but that officials didn't find his assessment convincing enough for whatever reason, and they hid every trace of it from public view. She says that's the least sinister possibility. And the most charitable interpretation possible is damningly unacceptable by itself, because the public should obviously be kept informed of any possible evidence which may contradict the reasons that they were fed to justify an act of war by governments. So basically, like, look, if you're going to kill people over these claims, like, then yeah, you would think that the American people should know what the heck is going on all around, and have a full accounting of what's taking place. So the interesting thing is, since Caitlin published this, she said she's been like attacked, and different people calling her, attacking her in different ways. And the cool thing is, though, you actually have this, it says establishment narrative managers struggle with new Syria plot holes. And she talks about how most of the mainstream media is choosing to just ignore this claim, this leaked document, because they know they can't defend it. The only people who are actually trying to go after this is Bellingcat, which is a pro-NATO narrative management firm, which has previously defended Syrian regime change propaganda and promoted it around the internet, and basically called for ousting Assad. And what they claim, according to the founder of Bellingcat, which is Elliot Higgins, he says that reporting by journalist Brian Witt on the leaked Douma report that the conspiracy theorists and chemical weapons denialists are so excited about is consistent with what I'm hearing. Looks like they all got played by a disgruntled OPCW employee. So they just try to dismiss it off. This guy that the OPCW chose to ignore is just disgruntled, and there's no reason to listen to him. But I think this is just the fact that this issue is so exposed now for anybody who can think for themselves, for anybody who has the ability to think for longer than a couple of minutes and do a little bit of research and question, and can get past the cognitive dissonance that, especially in America, but I think most of the world, deals with in regards to questioning and challenging their own government, if they can get past that, they can start to think for themselves and see like, wow, I'm being fed some propaganda. An interesting note here, I saw this, Caitlin Johnstone also posted this, and it's called Reflections on This Weird, Wild Job of Mine. And it's just kind of a blog that she wrote about her path to journalism, but it starts out basically saying that sometimes famous people tweet her stuff and then she gets attacked from all different corners of the world, but from people, but she's just doing her thing, like being a 40-something-year-old mom of two slash blogger journalist who's trying to awaken people, and she's doing a great job. And so the actress Susan Sarandon actually tweeted out Caitlin's report about this OPCW leaked document, as did Roger Waters of Pink Floyd. And she talks about that. Sure enough, she started getting attacked on Twitter as a secret Nazi or an Assad lover or a racist or just different things like that. And this is how people treat you if you actually call out to question the regime change wars and the lies all around you. Just like Tulsi Gabbard, who is running for Democratic presidential candidate, is taking heat and being called, a Russian bot. Just like people who challenge anything, you're basically Russian, whether it's GMOs, 5G, or war, you must be a Russian Putin or Assad apologist. So Caitlin Johnstone's getting the same heat. But the reality is, again, if you dig into these reports and you start looking at what's been going on and see what we now know a full year later, and then with some of the alleged attacks, we're a couple of years out now, and we have even more evidence than we had at the beginning. That's how investigations work. But the media, 24-hour media cycle, some people feed into that. And I'll tell you this is why you probably have heard about this story before I even reported on it, because everybody's in a rush to be the first ones to report on it. I like to wait a few days to see how things develop and see what plays out and see if there's new details that you need to know about. So it's interesting that this narrative is being exposed while at the same time there are, the push for war with Iran, the push for or with Venezuela. It's a big effort that's taking place, and these people want to take over the Middle East. Some would say for religious reasons, some would say for the oil, others say for more esoteric reasons. I think it's a combination of all of the above. These people want control and want domination, but it's going to lead to the downfall of the Western Empire. That might be a good thing in the long run, but I don't know if that helps out for me and you and the average person, the average Iranian and Venezuelan and Syrian person out there. In the end, we, the people, the small people, the individuals, always suffer whenever it comes down to government changes and enforcement like this. So enforcement of wars and propaganda and lies. And thankfully, there are journalists and people like Caitlin Johnstone, myself, and others out there who are poking holes in it and getting people to think. And if you care about that, if you want people to think, then I do invite you guys to please share this video as well as the documents, the original article, and the documents linked in it from Caitlin Johnstone and my previous reports. So check that all out. Get yourself informed. Find out what's going on in the world. Fight against propaganda. Stop feeding yourself propaganda. Stop believing in propaganda. Start thinking for yourself. Start living in your own strength and your own power, and encouraging that with other people. Strong hearts, revolutionary minds, and together we can change the world. So until next time, remember, you are powerful, you are beautiful, and you are free. Peace.